mentally.
Hey, listen, they said that in Vietnam they beat the hell out of them all the
I
time.
know.
And then I met some new guys in Korea, and that's just as bad as Vietnam.
That's when I was in, but they luckily for me sent me to Germany. They weren't shooting at each other over there. But I got a story about Pearl Harbor.
Okay. Tell me your story about Pearl Harbor.
Okay. When it happened, I was a very young man, but Edgar Rice Burroughs, who wrote all the Tarzan stories, I ended up playing one of the Tarzans. He was in Pearl Harbor when it was bombed. And then the very next day, he went down and enlisted. And he was the oldest war correspondent in the service.
He had to be in his 50s, right?
Oh, he was in his 60s or 70s.
Let me move this closer. I think it's just loud over there.
Oh, okay.
I want to be able to hear you. I can't believe he was that old.
It's the last job he ever had. I don't know how. I think he'd written all these books.
Tell me about Burroughs. What was he like? Was he a good man? Nice
Burroughs,
man?
I never met him, but I met his grandson, Danton. And funny, he grew up with it, so he was the best at doing the Tarzan yell.
Really?
Yeah, I sounded like a wounded yak.
Wasn't it a yodel?
It was partly, but it was sweetened with 2 string instruments and an oboe, I believe. Believe it or not, the guy that does the sound for the guy that does all the Star Wars, Lucas, he called me up about last year, and he was doing research on how to duplicate the Tarzan yell. And he said, I've hired professional male singers, professional female singers, I've hired musicians, and I can't duplicate it. And the closest ever was Johnny Weissmuller, because he could yodel. He could hit the high notes.
I was going to ask you, I know that you went to some Tarzan conventions when Weissmuller was alive, right?
I did.
What were they like?
Oh, they were fun. I really got to know Buster Crabbe well.
He lived here in town.
He did. He was way ahead of his time. He wrote a book called Exercise for Arthritis People. And he wanted to get him in the pool. That's when he got his gold medal at the Olympics in swimming. And he sent me a copy of his book. And I've written a book about fitness since. And I quote him, and I've got his picture in it, and Johnny Weissmuller, and Jock Mahoney, and a guy by the name of James Pierce.
He was a silent one, wasn't he?
No, that was Elmo Lincoln. Elmo Lincoln.
Silent?
Well, he may have been, but Elmo was the first. And then James Pierce married Edgar Rice Burroughs' daughter, and they played Tarzan and Jane on the radio for several years. And then he played Tarzan on Speaky film, I think maybe 2 films, Tarzan films. Nice man, huge man, much bigger than me.
Really?
Yeah. There's a light on now that wasn't on.
Is it better? I think it looks better.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do the light.
It's okay.
You mind if you don't like the light on?
No, that's fine. But Edgar Rice, Johnny was as noisy as Buster was quiet. Johnny would do the yell anywhere, out of his hotel room, in the lobby of the hotel, at a fancy restaurant, at the dinner table, in the kitchen with the chef.
He was a big drinker, wasn't he?
He was, and Buster wasn't. And Buster was a real quiet gentleman, and I was standing next to Buster, and some guy came by, and he was talking bad about Johnny Weissmuller. And he let him go by, and then he turned to me, Buster did, and said, he may be a little noisy, but he says, I'll tell you one thing, I never beat him swimming. And Johnny had won a gold medal the Olympic before Buster.
In Paris, I think.
I believe so.
Buster's son lives here in town, Cuffy.
Cuffy, I've never met him, but I heard.
I live in Tempe. I don't know if you know where Tempe is.
Yes.
I live in Tempe, and he has a high-end wheel manufacturing office. I'm not
Really?
saying it right, but
Yeah.
I went by his place a few months back and introduced myself, and I'm going to speak to him down the road. But in his office, he has all of Buster's movie posters.
Does he really?
Yeah, it's really fun.
It's in Tempe?
It's in Tempe, and if you want, I'll give him the number to you.
Please.
He lives in Tempe, and I got to bother him another time. I called him once and stopped by and introduced myself. And
Okay.
he's the nicest guy.
Good.
He's the nicest guy. So, today's Friday. I'll call him on his cell phone and tell him you said
I'd like
hello,
to get his address and maybe we exchange emails or something.
He's a nice man.
Okay.
I know you got started playing basketball. Playing basketball for UCLA. What was that like?
It was terrific because the coach was John Wooden, and he's won more championships, 10. I think the closest to him was Adolph Rupp at Kentucky, and that was 4 or 5. He was, I told people that he was one of my heroes as well as teacher and coach, but he no cursing. No cursing in the locker room, no cursing in practice, no cursing during the game, on the bench. If you heard Coach Wooden say, "Goodness gracious sakes alive," you knew he was really pissed because he didn't say that very often. And you knew he was going to make you run backwards for about an hour, and you've just been running forwards for about 2. So he won a lot of his games just on conditioning.
Now, I don't know much about your basketball career. How did you do?
I did okay. I played first string when I was a sophomore. Then I went into service, went to Germany for 2 years, played basketball in the Army over there, and then came back and sat out a year, played a year, and now my younger brother was 5 years younger, and we played part of my senior year and his sophomore year. His name's Kent. Sadly, he smoked himself to death, and
I'm sorry.
He's been, I am too. Nobody could make him stop. He's been gone. He was 5 years younger than me, and he's been gone for 5 years. So
smoking's bad.
It really is.
It is. I drink too much sometimes when I go on, because I'm a photographer primarily.
Sure, okay.
And I drink sometimes too much, and I didn't feel well this morning. I had to work last night. So everything will get you.
Yeah, I
think.
think so.
But so you were on a scholarship for basketball?
I was full scholarship, and so was my brother. We didn't pay for anything: tuition, books, training table, not room and board, but training table. And I lived with my family still, and we were only 10 blocks away from the campus.
No, Wooden, as you became more and more, I guess, famous with your acting career, did he remember you?
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, I tell people I made all city Los Angeles school system. It's a pretty big school system, so I was pretty good at the high school level. And I had come with a family from New York, and I learned how to shoot two-handed. There was nobody west of the Mississippi River that shot two-handed. They all shot one-handed. And Coach Wooden didn't change a thing because I was pretty good at it. But I always tell people he didn't enroll me in UCLA because of my basketball ability. I was dating his daughter, Nancy, at the time, and he would rather me sitting next to him on the gym on Saturday night than next to Nancy anywhere else. But we were dating, but I don't think that's really why.
So, what years did you play basketball?
I started in 52-3. Then I went in a 3-4, and then I went in service for 2 years, came back and played 7 and 8. I redshirted one of those seasons.
So you played 57, 58?
Yeah.
Okay.
They didn't win any of the championships, but we had winning teams. I don't think he ever had a losing team in the 30 years he was there, no.
He was great. Now, how did you get discovered? I know that's a good story.
Yeah, well, they get the jocks jobs, mostly physical, in the summertime, keep them in shape. And mine was moving furniture, and I was moving with my partner office furniture out of a warehouse and onto a truck and off the truck and into an office building. And I'm pushing a chair down Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood, and I hear a honk, and somebody says, "Hey, you!" And I turn, and it's this guy. Remember those little Carmen Gias? Okay, he had one of those. And he's hanging out, waving this piece of paper in his face. I said, "Yeah, you, come here." I'm about 2 paces from him, and he says, let me see your hairline. And I went, what?
You still got hair.
I know. And he said, let me see your hairline. And I had the hairline. I pulled it back and I said, how's that? And I figured he's a kook. So I turned to go, and I hear over my shoulder, here's my card. Give me a call. I turned, took his card, and he drove off. And I read the card, talent agent. So I went home, I threw the card in my sock drawer, went to work the next day. The dispatcher comes to me and says, hey, there's a guy called you, his name Robert Razan, and he wants you to call him. I said, no, I'm not bothered with that. And I moved furniture for the day, went home, came back the next day, and the guy said, that guy called again. If you don't answer his phone call, you're fired. I said, no, the coach will get mad. I know, I'll call him. And I called him. He said, come over and read a script for me. I did. And he says, go home and do whatever you've been doing. I'll give you a call. He called in about 2 weeks. He says, I got a screen test for you.
And who did your screen tests?
I did my screen test, the first one. And it was one of those hard ones. They call it a personality. All you have to do is answer questions like, how old are you? How tall are you? What do you do for a living or not? You're going to school, blah, blah, blah. Let's see your right profile. No, your other profile, you dummy. You know that guy. And I passed. They gave me a 7-year yearly contract.
7 years?
Yeah, but it's their option, 1 year. And the price is I made $180 a week doing Tarzan. I was a star of the movie. I was getting $180. I thought that was great. I was getting GI Bill. Anyway, the one that was important for me, though, the screen test, was directed by George Cukor.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I mean, did you know who he was, or you didn't?
I had no idea. I said, his name never came up in the locker room, What the heck?
That's better to be naive.
It was. I'd have been frightened to death. I was still frightened to death. Anyway, he got an English actress to have me rehearse for 3 months in his home, in his office. He wasn't there. He hired a diction coach, drama coach to coach me. And we went on, and the English actress says, come on, let's do this already. She was a seasoned actress, and I didn't know what I was doing. And finally, it took all day to shoot it, in color. He directed it all. First time, it's about a GI on a 3-day pass in New York, and he comes to pick up his date, and his date's roommate meets him and says, oh, she's gone away someplace. And so we end up in the sack. It's called The Voice of the Turtle.
Okay.
And I thought, what does a turtle doesn't have a voice? Turns out it was a turtle dove in the spring. Okay? I knock on the door to start the scene. She opens the door and I walk in and I say half of my first line and I hear Cukor scream at me. And he says, cut! Do you see that bowl of wax fruit on the table? I said, yeah. He said, if you come in that stiff next time, get ready because that bowl of fruit is going to hit you in the head. And I went, oh, okay. And that broke the ice. And I went through it. I was still scared, but I got it with his name on the screen test. So they're not gonna.
Yeah.
So I got to never work for him.
But
never have.
You did Tarzan after that, right?
I did.
How was that experience? Was it hard because you didn't know what you were doing? Or?
Oh yeah, it was. But it was like being in a circus instead of going to a circus. Go ride that elephant. Oh, okay. Go play with that chimpanzee. Okay. Go play with that lion cub. And the funny part about it was they were trying to change the loincloths. So I went through wardrobe screen tests. One was just shells, and every time I took a step I rattled, so there's no. And in the screen test they were also testing it for the part of Jane. And I went and sat down on a log, soaking wet out of the jungle leaves, and recited the 23rd song. That was more than I said in the whole darn movie. They said to me, well, we're doing this way because we're making Tarzan more intelligent. They were lying to me. I found out that Umgawa means stop, go. There's an umbrella. I'll take strawberry. Umgawa it stands for everything. And I said it a lot in that film.
Now, did any of the old Tarzans visit you on set?
No, but I got the chance, like you said, at conventions, I got to meet him. And then I went back and met a bunch of the young guys younger than me. I'm the oldest living Tarzan now at 79. The guy that was the oldest died at 101. Bruce.
Oh,
Bruce.
yeah, the triathlon.
Yeah, you know who I mean, Bruce. He changed his name because he had played Tarzan.
Yeah.
He was a decathlete.
Yeah, decathlete.
And Glenn Morris was a decathlete. He won a gold medal.
Yeah.
And for decathlon. And then I got to work with Rayford Johnson. He was on the basketball team, but he also won.
I interviewed a woman the other day. She's 97. She swam in the 36 Olympics.
Okay.
Morris was there.
Okay.
And so
it was in Berlin.
It was in Berlin, and they took a boat then. They didn't fly there.
Yes, right.
It was really interesting.
Yeah, and the girl that was supposed to be in there,
she got drunk.
She got drunk and got.
They were roommates.
Okay.
In what do you call it? The room.
Yeah.
The cabin.
The cabin.
Roommate, and she was pissed off because she wanted her own room.
And she also got kicked off the team.
They kicked her off the team.
Before she competed.
And then she was in a Tarzan movie.
Yes. I've forgotten one.
But I think with Glenn Morris.
It might have been, but I don't think so because he fell in love with Hitler's photographer.
Leni Riefenstahl?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And they had a hot romance, and he wanted her to go back with him, and she said, "No, I got a good job here with Hitler," and he said that ruined his life, that he should have stayed there. They were really in love with each other, but she was stuck where she was, and he didn't want to be
stuck in jail.
And he didn't want to be there.
Yeah, so what did you learn? Did you learn something from that first movie you made, the Tarzan movie, about acting?
Yeah.
About hitting your mark?
Yeah, that was the easy part to me after I learned that. And one of the funny things, they spent, I don't know how many dollars, they took molds of my feet, made rubber soles because you run around barefoot all the time, and there's these double-headed nails, and they really aren't good to step on. And then they glue that on me. And the first shot, I came swinging on the vine over the camera, let go, and dropped down, right? And I was going so fast, I bounced a little forward, right?
Now, did they do that with the other guys too, the other Tarzans?
No. And I'm going to tell you, they didn't do it with me either, because I looked down, and there were those soles back where I landed, and they didn't bother putting them on again. A couple of versions for TV, they had guys wearing knee-length boots, which there's never any of that in the stories,
yeah, I think
in
Mike
the books.
Henry did that, didn't he?
No, it was
Ron
another
Eli.
guy, a guy who was in underwear, male underwear.
Ron Eli?
No, Ronnie did in
TV.
Mexico, yeah, TV. And there were two other guys that did it in TV. And one of them wore boots, but I can't remember his name. You know who played Jane's father? Tony Curtis in this. Yeah, they made a film.
Really?
Yeah, and Tony Curtis. And I got to meet Tony Curtis. I visited Gordon Scott, Jock Mahoney, myself, and one other guy. And we visited them while they were shooting that film.
Gordon Scott just died a couple years ago.
He did.
Was he very ill?
I don't know. I didn't know him very well.
I interviewed Tony Curtis about 6 months before he died.
Did you?
He gave me about 45 minutes. And Tony Curtis loved himself.
Oh, yeah, no.
And so it was great to talk to him because he loved talking about himself.
I know.
And so I had a great time talking to him. So we talked about Audie Murphy and all those guys.
Yeah.
He was a real talent.
He was.
I just wish he kept a little cleaner in the 80s.
Yeah, he did.
It's bad enough drinking, but when you get he was getting into some bad stuff.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay, so you did that. Now you start getting into the Western slowly.
Yeah.
And so you make a on a TV series with Buddy Ebsen. Is that the first one?
Yeah, I think so. Well, no.
Northwest Passage with Buddy.
Northwest Passage. Oh yes, right. And Keith Larson.
I don't know much about Keith Larchin. Tell me about him.
He was a very successful actor, TV actor then. He bought a lot of property just north of Malibu.
So he was loaded.
He was loaded,
Yeah.
and nice guy. And Buddy Ebsen, I didn't know who the hell he was, except I was a fraternity brother of a guy who was dating his daughter, and they had a tap dance school together. And I worked with him in Barnaby Jones twice after that. Yeah.
What was he like? What was?
Oh, he was a kick. He was
he a
really
straight
fun.
guy? Was he easy to
Straight,
work
easy, on time, knew his lines, just perfect, just perfect.
Now I don't know this next show. It's called The Overland Trail.
Overland Trail was Who Was the Life of Riley?
William Bendix.
William Bendix. That was my first job.
Doug-
Very first job. I sat in a swing in his backyard on the set and ate a vanilla ice cream cone. And I said to myself, this is really tough work. I think I ought to look into this. And then I worked with him again on Overland Trail. It was about Stagecoach. And Doug McClure, who I had played basketball with at University High School.
Oh, you did?
Before, yeah. And he was even then, when he was in high school, he was so good looking. He was a male model, and then he got that job in TV, and then he went on to do better things. Did a better Burt Lancaster imitation than I've ever seen Burt Lancaster do. Really great.
Tell me about McClure. I know
He was
he's been
great.
there for 10, 15 years now, at least.
What?
He's been gone for a while.
Oh, he smoked himself to death just like my brother. Nice guy, a joker, a funny man. He did the best comedy scenes I've ever seen on screen, but they never would give it to him. He was too good looking, and he was always a leading man.
I know. Okay, next is Laramie. Tell me about Laramie.
Laramie, that's when I met Bob Fuller.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Are you
Peter,
guys good friends?
Yeah, and Peter Brown. And I don't remember the episode at all because I still considered myself for years a misplaced basketball player. So I just was studying my lines for hours so I wouldn't make a mistake, which is the wrong thing to do. Learn them, like Spencer Tracy said, what do you know about acting? He says, learn your lines and don't bump into the furniture. And I always followed that.
When you first started, did you meet any of your idols?
Yes, Barbara Stanwyck, Robert Ryan, David Jansen.
You were on an episode of The Fugitive.
I did. I played a retarded guy in a boy in a man's body, typecasting, and it was one of the best parts I ever had. And David Jansen was the fastest learner of anybody. He was known for having a really smart wit and a bright mind. I had worked on a 9-page scene, and I got to the set, which is a real carnival, and they were using that carnival as the location. And I went to my dressing room, and some assistant director comes in and says, David lost $80,000 at the tables in Vegas last night, so he's not very happy. So don't be jockey all around, you know. Okay. So I got on, how do you do? Somebody handed me the script. He handed me the script, and he's going, what's the baseball score with the Dodgers? Yeah, well, I flew in this morning early in my plane, and yeah, well, that doesn't make any sense. I'll miss there. And he said, okay, let's do it. Threw the script away, did it up to that point, buffed, they picked it up, went the other way. I've never seen anybody learn that fast.
Maybe he had a photographic memory.
I think he did.
Did he?
I think he did.
Now, did you take to acting pretty quickly? Did you like it?
I loved it, but I was always frightened. And now that I'm not frightened, I can't get work.
But I think you would. You look
I feel
healthier than you are.
Well, I'll tell you what. I worked until I was 70. I was the Gorton's Fisherman spokesman for radio and TV 14 years until I was 70. And then they let me go, and they got a younger guy, and he didn't work out. They got 5 young guys. Now they use the cartoon. So, but I've been very lucky all 54 years with commercials when I wasn't working TV or film. Oh, I know who I wanted to tell you about. Sidney Poitier, and Harry Belafonte. If you've never seen it, it's a Western called Buck and the Preacher. And I'm a bad, bad redneck guy.
Is it from 1970?
Something like that. And I got off the plane in Mexico, and Sidney met me, and he says, go around, do whatever you want to do for 2 weeks. We just fired the director. I'm going to direct everything over and the whole movie. So I had my 2 weeks, but don't ever go to Durango, Mexico.
Okay, next is a big break for you. You get Wagon Train.
Yeah.
Tell me about Wagon, because that's big for you.
Well, it is, still. I ended up doing 110 episodes. 39 of them were 90-minuters in color. I got to work with Ward Bond before he sadly passed away in his 50s. Oh, he was great. But I told people, he'd light his cigarette from both ends and smoke it from the middle. I mean, he lived fast and died young.
He was good friends with Duke.
He was all the guys on Wagon Train, Charlie Wooster, Frank McGrath, Terry Wilson, Bill Hoffs. They were in every Ford movie ever made with Ward Bond, because Ward Bond and John.
Did you ever get any guests on the set? Because they're such good friends.
Oh yeah, but John Wayne did a one-day job. Yeah, directed by John Ford, but he would only do it in the shadow, so you couldn't see him.
Okay.
You could hear his voice, so who the heck would not know him, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, but you worked with all these big names, like good Lord, Betty Davis, and I can't name them all.
How many years were you on the show?
4, just short of 4 years.
And how long was it on for?
8. It was on almost 4 before I got there, and Bob Horton had told him he wasn't coming back after his 5th year contract was over. They offered him a pot full of money, but he wanted to be a professional singer. He ended up doing that. He had a lot of big songs, really big sellers in England.
Really?
Oh yeah, and he still, when he used to come to these festivals, 40 women from London would show up, and he called them Horton's harem.
I saw him when you were here. Yeah.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about. And they were really, really strong
So after
fans.
Wagon Train, what do you do next?
I got lucky. I did a few commercials, and then I got a series with Juliet Prowse,
Don't ask me.
and I played her husband. Dirty job, but somebody had to do it. And we did 26 episodes, and then we got kicked off because we were up against Thursday night at the movies.
She used to date Sinatra, didn't she?
That's right. She was, while I was there, they had an argument or something. I don't know what. I worked with Frank and Dean Martin and Shirley MacLaine in a movie called Some Came Running. And I was the only guy that came running. I'd run in, warn Dean. I'd say, somebody's in town, whatever his name was, he's going to kill you. And I'd rehearse these lines, and Shirley MacLaine's sitting over his shoulder, and he's playing with his scrambled eggs. And he's like this, and I run in, there's 100 people all around the saloon, bar, and he says, I say, so-and-so's in town, he's going to kill you. And he goes like this. I got lines. He had never read the script. He had never even read the script. I found out later that that's the way he worked. Even on his own show, and TV show. He was delightful. Sinatra.
Wonderful thing, right? When I talked to Curtis, he told me, I said, you worked with Jerry Lewis, you worked with Dean Martin. He said, I would work with Dean Martin again in a second. I'll never work with Jerry Lewis again.
No.
I mean, he had that way about him.
I can understand that. I never worked with him, but I've heard stories, but not about Dean. And he was almost a professional golfer. So was Bing Crosby.
He was good with cards, wasn't he?
Oh, he was great with cards, yeah. I came in one day and he had a dressing room on the set. And he was holding his hands, his head in his hands, and I heard him moan, and I laughed. And he looked up and he said, he says, I'm only going to drink seldom from now on, man. He says, as a matter of fact, I got a case of Old Very Seldom in my dressing room. I never saw him take a drink. I never saw him drunk. He was, I think that was a sham. because I know he had a drink or two, but I don't.
One thing I learned about him from other people is he didn't drink when his son died.
Oh, well, that.
When his son died, he lost control. He was so controlled that he never looked drunk. He might be a bit hungover.
Yeah.
He never looked like they said when his son died, he didn't want to live anymore.
No, that's what I heard too.
He used to go to this restaurant in Beverly Hills. I don't know the name of it. Every day.
Yeah.
And I knew a gal that worked there and said he used to get so pissed drunk that he would use it. He was bad.
Yeah.
It was sad.
Well, I heard he was really depressed when that happened.
That was his pride and joy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
because he told, what I read about him is Sinatra, hated Peter Lawford after a while because Lawford guaranteed that Kennedy, after he was president, would come to his house to stay. You know the story. And then he said, for sure he's coming. And he said, yes. And then he stayed at Crosby's house.
Yeah.
And then Dean Martin told Sinatra, don't trust those captains. He was sharp.
Yeah, oh yeah, he was. He was very kind. We had a big poker scene in Some Came Running.
I was still from that. I didn't know him.
Do you? Yeah.
He's playing cards with Sinatra's over here and Shirley MacLaine. There's another dark-haired girl. I don't know.
Yeah. She played Italian.
Yeah. I love talking to you. It's all okay.
Fun.
So you're in Wagon Train. You're in the next show. I know you make a lot of guest appearances on TV shows. Some of those big '60s TV shows, like Gilligan's Island.
Gilligan's Island.
Everyone
bet.
knows that.
Oh yeah.
Now was it? Those shows they made
39 we used to do in Wagon Train.
Was it tough? Was that show easy? I mean,
Easy. Piece of cake. It becomes a big family if everybody gets along, and we did.
Now you surprised 40, 50 years later people remember one episode?
Yeah, I do, and it's always Gilligan's Island. I was one of 3 actors that went back to the island. Hans Conried, because he flew wrong way every time. And an Oriental guy who played himself twice. But I played 2 different guys. I played a surfer who came on a tsunami. And you know what was the biggest problem I had was with Doug McClure. He says, how the hell you surf through that lagoon and there's no wave? I said, you gotta have a cable underneath the water pulling you to a truck. I told him when I got the job, I don't surf. It's the only time I ever been up, and we got going so fast on the board. They said, if you can, make it to your hands and knees. I said, hey, I'm gonna try to stand up, and I did. And I stood up for about 10 yards, hit the beach, did a somersault and everything. But the next one I did, and when you play Tarzan, you get these nutty places to go and to play parts. And one was Tongo the Ape-Man. And they captured me, the people on Gilligan's, and put me in a cage. And I really made Tina Louise angry because we went to rehearse to her dressing room, and it was all 1880s, flocked paper and a beautiful carved high-back chair, which was pride and joy. And I sat down and broke the back off of her. And in the scene, she was supposed to slap me on the shoulder. At the 3rd rehearsal, I said, you know something? Back off a little bit on the slap. She was knocking me off of the rock I was sitting on. But all of them got along fine. Jim Bacchus would become Mr. Magoo at 8 o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
I heard Tony Curtis said Bacchus was great.
Oh.
But he said he had an overbearing wife. Is that true?
I never met the wife. Never met the wife.
He had an overbearing wife.
I never met her.
I didn't know that.
No.
Okay, then you were on I Dream of Jeannie. You were on the Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
So you're part of American Alexa.
Well, kind of, yeah.
Because those shows, since there's 3 networks, every kid watched those shows.
They do.
And adults.
They do. They don't
watch
watch Tarzan because there hasn't been a Tarzan film made for 20 years, and that was a cartoon, animated.
What do you miss about those days? Because you were busy as hell.
Yeah, I miss the camaraderie. I never ran with a crowd of agents, but I had 4, 5, 6, 7 favorites of mine that we were really good friends, and still are today if they're alive. Almost 79, but Julia Prowse sadly passed away
She was beautiful.
about 10 years ago. But I was there when I was going to tell you about an argument that I think it was an argument. She didn't tell me anything about her and Sinatra, but I found out later from her agent or personal manager. We were on the set of Mona McCluskey, and here comes this guy in a suit and tie. He gives her a little box with a bow on it and everything, and everybody gathered around. It wasn't her birthday, and we look, and she opens it up, and it's a diamond ring with emerald cuts diamonds and emerald cut emeralds around it. We heard later it was over $100,000.
And that's $100,000.
Oh, at least. Okay? She went, and everybody went, ooh, ah, these, and she was already rewrapping it. Tied the bow, gave it back to the guy.
That's hard to do.
And her business manager almost fainted.
And didn't she date Elvis also?
I think so. I know she was in a film with him, wasn't she?
She was in GI Blues.
Okay. Best legs.
Those are great legs.
Oh my God. But you got to dance for, she was going to be a ballerina. But when she got to be 5'9", and she was so tall on point that she'd come around and belt these guys with her elbows and all that.
That's one thing I wish you could get is those 70s specials. Like she did a couple dance specials.
She did.
And you can't find those.
No.
That's something.
I don't know why. Barry Chase did one too.
Yeah. Well, I think even Fred Astaire did one.
Oh, he did with Barry Chase?
Yeah. Sorry, I don't.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you. I'm trying to brainstorm everything.
But the specials.
You made the movie. I got to ask you about Peter Sellers. You made The Party.
Oh.
I got the movie poster. I'm going to bring it in. Shit. I have the actual movie poster.
Oh, bring it. I'll sign it. Do you have a copy of the film?
Yes.
I'll give it to you if you don't.
No, I have it.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite films.
It is. It's become a cult classic.
I think it's great. I think the ending's not perfect.
No. But we made it up.
Did he?
From day one. Blake Edwards, who produced and directed it, said he had a 30-page script. It's 125, 40 pages if it's a movie. Threw the 30 pages away, he said, gathered the cast around him and said, see that guy over there? And he pointed to Peters, who was always making something up off in a corner someplace. And it said, just follow that guy, okay? And that's what we did for 12 weeks. Something special is going on. It's never happened to me in 54 years. The actors and actresses who didn't have anything to do that day were there because they wanted to watch a genius at work. And that's what he was, a genius, a comic genius. He made everything up and we just played off of it. Birdie Num Nums, he spilled a birdseed all over the set one time, off by himself, and he put it in the thing. Years later, I'm on a first-class plane to New York City, and they got these high back. I can't see over them and sitting down, and I see Blake Edwards go by and sit in the seat in front of me. And I wait, and we take off, and the light goes off, and I'm getting ready to get out and go around and say hello, and I see these fingers come up over the thing. Birdie Num Nums.
That was wonderful.
Oh, it was so much fun.
He was, it's a shame he died. He was only 50 years old.
I know, he'd had a heart attack before.
In 1980. I was a little boy living in Detroit. I remember we had the convention, the Republican convention. I remember seeing the paper. It's a shame.
I saw the history of Monty Python just the other day, and some of them were on the Goon Squad radio. Peter Sellers was at the mic. He was in the Goon Squad.
It's a shame.
It was. He kept marrying the same girl over and over again with a different name.
It was crazy.
Doug McClure did the same thing. They all looked alike. Different name. Barbara Luna,
Joan Collins told me a great story about him a few weeks ago. I was at the Sedona Film Festival.
Okay.
You know what I was going to tell you is, in a few weeks, I'm doing the Turner Classic Movie Film Festival. You know what? Ever heard of that?
Oh yes, at Roosevelt.
You should come by there.
Yeah, I might.
because it's special.
I know, I've seen film of it.
Yeah, it's special.
And Robert Osborne, I've already shaken his
He's a
hand.
nice man.
Oh, yeah.
You should look into that because that's perfect for you.
Okay.
If you do.
Sure, yeah.
What else? Now I'm trying to think again. Sorry.
That's all right.
I always like
You
to ask
wanna-
people is when you're making a movie, it was a good experience for you. What upset you on a movie, making a movie? There must have been things that irritated you or made you mad.
Betty Davis.
Tell me that. Tell me why.
I played a guy, a clod-kicking young cowboy when I was learning my way, and they were teaching me, the guys on the scout, to be a scout. And that's the way I played the character, aw shucks, and shy. And we have a scene, Betty Davis and I. And I gave her my first line. And she just looked at me and then walked out of the scene and over to the director and allowed for everybody to see her. Is he going to say it that way? And the director's fumbling and scared to death of her too. And he says, oh, well, that's his character. That's yes. And she comes back, gets right in my face and says, give me the line again. By that time, it was a big puddle of sweat. And I was more frightened than mad. The next day, I came in, and John McIntyre, who I was always checking for angel wings because he was my father figure, nicest man I ever met. And he was walking around with the purple lips and clenched fists. And I didn't ask him, but it was Betty Davis that got to him. Now, I talked about people that have worked with her, and she was difficult quite a few times in her, even with Errol Flynn. But later became a fan of Errol's. Sadly, after Errol had passed away, but became a fan of his work.
Did you get to work with any of your heroes?
Well, Harry Belafonte was one. Sidney Poitier, Doug McClure. He was really a good friend.
Was there anything you were trying to get, any movies or any TV show that they picked someone else?
Yeah, they did a movie called Doc Savage. It was a series of about 100 paperback books, and he was Sean Connery with a crew cut and fists and everything, and he had a crew. One did dynamite, one broke saves, one for the good. They were the good guys. I had a friend that I went to school with that was making a living acting in Europe, came all the way on his own money to audition for that. I auditioned. Ron Ely got it. And they turned it into a cartoon. Biff, bam, crunch. It could have run for 10, 15 years, but they made a farce out of it. And that's too bad. Yeah.
Usually when you come into some money, because you must have been making a few dollars.
Yeah, I was.
Is there anything you bought that was special to you, like a new car or a house or something?
Yeah.
Old? What'd you buy?
I bought an Opel GT.
Really?
One of those little skinny things with a manual thing that turned the lights over and in back. I could barely get in it, but I had a lot of room this way. And I bought that. I bought a house, and I got to take a few ladies out. Anne Francis.
Anne Francis?
Yeah, I dated her for quite a while. Sadly, she just passed away a couple years ago. Wonderful woman, but I met her when I was already in my 60s.
You don't seem burnt out. Did you ever burn out from working too much or sick of the business?
No, heavens no.
Why not?
I always wanted to work more. I enjoyed it, especially when it was comedy. If I'd had my druthers, I would not do anything but comedy, but I never got to a place in my career where I could pick and choose. I got a lot of work, but it was usually because of my size. I got beat up by everybody in town. Charles Bronson, Selleck, everybody, Dennis Weaver.
Tell me about Charles Bronson. What was he like?
He was a little difficult. He was a loner, but he was really, really sweet with his wife when she got cancer and was very, very careful about her. but he was easy to work with for 3 months on the west coast of Mexico. And it was a movie called Cabo Blanco. Doesn't make any sense after we got through messing around, or Charles, but it was about a scuttled ship full of treasure from World War II, and everybody was after it.
Tom Selleck looks like he'd be easy to work with.
He's just a gem. He played basketball for SC. After I played for UCLA. He said every time I came out, or every time I went into the game, there's a huge ovation from the crowd. And then he'd hesitate and say, did I forget to mention it? And he was playing with some All-American guy that he would replace when the game was decided. He would go in with the scrubs, you know, just keeping the bench warm for most of the game.
Do you think your athletics helped you?
Very much.
Your life? How did
Oh,
athletics
yeah.
help you?
I don't think, well, just run a list of the Tarzans. You don't get the part unless you look athletic, first of all, and if you trip over your own feet, you don't get the part. If you can't hold on while you're swinging on a vine, if you can't climb up a rope ladder, that kind of thing. And in fight scenes, I got pretty good, and I did my own fighting in scenes. I have 6 teeth missing up there because of it. But I enjoyed it because nobody got hurt. I was at fault. I slipped and was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But it's silent. It's like a dance. They rehearse it. It's easy. When something goes wrong, you know, because somebody screams, he yells ouch or something. And he's very good too. When we were working on Wagon Train, he did a flip over and landed on a breakaway table, and it didn't break away, and he broke his back, or his leg.
How did the business is different now? These kids are different.
I know it.
And so that's why, really, the reason I'm here is I told you I work with the Pearl Harbor guys and that, but this generation's, I'm not that old, but this generation is very different.
Joe Lando, have you interviewed him? The guy that was the lead on Dr. Quinn? He's here. I didn't recognize him first because he used to have hair down. That's the last stage fight I ever did, and he did it with me, and he was excellent. He could have ruined me for life, but he didn't hurt me at all. It's strange, just yesterday, I met him for the first time since we did the part, which was 10, 15 years ago. He said, you know, it's not like it used to be, and he's telling me that because he's worked recently. He says, I should get a little respect, I think, from these young actors. He says they come late to work, they don't know their lines, they get drunk on the set. He says it's really disappointing. And he was always on time, as far as I could tell. And you could always tell if anybody's a pain in the ass to the crew. They always want to go home. You know, it's just like Barbara Stanwyck. We were goofing around on set one time. She was wearing with a Confederate hat and a bullwhip and everything, and she was standing there and said, hey, let's do the jokes and go home, boys. You know, another funny story, I don't know if you can. Nat King Cole, he was on a wagon train once.
Oh, he was?
Yeah. And his man was standing right in front of me, and the assistant director came up and said, we'd like Mr. Cole to be here at 8 and tomorrow. And the guy says, in the morning? And he says, yes, 8 a.m. And the guy looked around and he says, you gotta be kidding. The king don't stop throwing up till 10. I guess he put him away. I never saw him drunk. Never saw him at all.
You had some great guest stars on that show. Anyone else?
Oh, Rhonda Fleming. Is she pretty or what?
Beautiful.
Oh, Dana Winters. I got to kiss her. My grandfather was a dentist, and I had him make teeth to go over my teeth. Put gold on them and burn the gold in like I never brushed my teeth. They're an ugly, snaggle-toothed guy. And I had a love scene with Dana Winters, who you remember is a very beautiful girl. I just saw her in a very early movie. She was an exotic-looking woman. I turned around with those teeth in to come and kiss her. It's the wrong person to do that. She wasn't happy. I took them out right away.
Well, that must make you feel good that I think you worked in the glory years.
I did.
Not to say
I
that-
did. No, I'm told over and over
I
again.
think you did because I try to work. I work all the time, and I meet monsters.
Yeah.
They're monsters. I work with them. I can't wait to get the hell away from them.
Yeah.
And I do my thing, and I got to get my money. We all got to get paid, but I don't respect any.
I'm so disappointed. Yeah, but Joe says it.
Yeah, they're not nice people. I do a lot of fashion work and a lot of other movie and other stuff. The fashion people are not very bright.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
movie people are mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're both horrible.
Yeah. Isn't that sad? That's
Well, no, I
sad.
think it's wonderful that you had, like when I talked to the Pearl Harbor guys up here, they think they've lived in the best part of the country. And I think that's sad because I think when you were growing up, you thought the future was going to be great. And I
did.
don't think these kids feel that.
No, I think we've peaked as a civilization.
I do too.
I do. I'm sorry, but
No, and I agree with you. I think these kids they're making so much money and they're talentless and the scripts are horrible.
yeah, the first killer of our society is diabetes. Now it's taken over for smoking.
Because they're fed-
Smoking is second.
Hey, let's talk about your book.
Yeah.
It's about fitness, correct?
Yeah, it's called Me, Tarzan, You Train.
Okay, I like that.
And it's on the back it says no pain, no gain. In other words, we've been fed this line of, it's a myth that if exercise doesn't hurt you, it doesn't do you any good. And that's a lie, it's just the opposite. That's why nobody exercises, because they try to go for the burn or no pain, no gain, just like Jane Fonda and all of the other people that have made millions. But
That's how you
I had my own gym. It's called the House of Reps. And I have 6 max people in it, converted old barn. And they come in Tuesday and they wanted to be in shape by lunch tomorrow. And I keep saying, don't lift that much weight.
You're gonna get hurt.
They did. And then they used that as an excuse not to exercise ever again. And they started eating. And
I see kids do it. I swam for Arizona State.
did you really?
I swam. I was top 30, 40 in the world when I was swam. But,
Cool.
I mean, I was the best ever. But
Sure.
These kids, they're doing stuff like balancing on a ball. You don't pick up this ball. You don't pick up the ball.
Sure.
And they're doing a bench press. That's the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Dumb.
You're gonna slip one day.
Gonna
You have
get
to slip.
killed.
You're gonna slip. You have to hurt yourself.
That's right.
It's crazy.
It's automatic.
These kids make me nuts.
Yeah. I turned into a governor or a cop, a traffic cop. No, don't do that. No, not that many reps. Not that much weight. Don't bend over like that with weights in your hand, for God's sakes. No stretching beforehand, no warm-ups. They're just bizarre. I'll tell you where to go see the best bodies in the world. Any Cirque du Soleil.
Those people are
The
fit.
Mirage is the best one, but they are incredible. There's a guy, 2 brothers that do hand balancing.
No, they're great.
Oh, they do the most incredible one-arm push-up with his brother, and it's, in slow motion. I was on the edge of my seat like a kid. I went to my wife, they can't do that. Nobody can do that. And they're still there doing it. Once a night, 2 days off of a month or something, And then the trapeze people, best looking bodies, male and female you've ever seen. It's a really, my wife was on a jury once for a murder. She was the head of the jury, and one gal that was in it, they got be friends. And her husband writes music for her, and he says, they're always injured. All these performers, they just get up their guts and do it, but they're always injured because of what they do. They take everything beyond what everybody else thought was possible.
Yeah, that's. I don't know how they do it. It's crazy.
I don't either.
But you seem
One-arm flanges, that's simple.
You seem so grounded. Have you always been grounded? I mean, have you grown up a lot?
No, my parents did that for me. My dad was a professor at UCLA, and Mom had been a teacher, and so I didn't get away with much. I had a good youth, but I spent a lot of time with my granddad, who was a dentist, so much so that I called him Daddy Doc. And he took me fishing, and my dad was working. He went to every Olympics from 32 to 84. Wrote a book about it, had a class on the history of sport. He was so proud of it because history majors were taking it as an elective because he made it so interesting.
I have a degree in history.
Do you really?
That's why.
Oh, that's terrific.
Do you have any regrets? Because you don't seem
None.
like you do.
None.
Good.
I'd do it all over again. If I had, I'd like to do more comedy.
More comedy.
But you know, I was strangled underwater by Dracula, Jack Palance. So I was the bad guy too.
What movie was that?
It was a TV series called Bronk, B-R-O-N-K. It only went for about 10 episodes, and he was a Santa Monica cop, a tough one. And I don't know why his character got mad, because I took his daughter in the script, who was in a wheelchair, and threw her in a pool. And it pissed off his character and killed me. But I'd tried to kill him 4 or 5 times, but he was a piece of cake to work with. I'd heard horror stories about Jack Palance. I'd work with him anywhere, anytime. He was a joy to work.
You seem like a likable guy. I don't imagine.
I am. I'll go around the corner to avoid a fight. That's what, you know.
Why, you've come here to this event many a time, haven't you?
Yeah.
Why do you keep coming back?
We like it because it was so well run. There were so many people. They bought so many of my books, my photographs, my DVDs, and my wife and I have found some eat places around. I like Mexican food.
Are you in Montana, or where are you?
No, we're in Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, okay.
Yeah. We got thousands of places to eat there, but it's not the only reason. I meet my old friends, Buck Taylor, Cheryl Rogers, who's Roy Rogers' daughter, Bobby Fuller, Peter Brown used to come. He's with his wife in Ireland because she's Irish. You know, Kevin Sorbo, all these guys, and Joe Lano. It's just a vacation, and
A reunion.
yeah. And I told my wife on the way home last night, I said, I've heard a lot of comments in my life, good and bad, but I heard one today that really topped them all. And a guy came up to me and looked me in the eye and put his hand out to shake and said, thank you. Took his hand out to shake and said, I like you because you're you. Ho, ho, ho.
You're a good guy. No, I can't tell you how much I appreciate this.
Thank you.
You're a good man. I wish you the best. I wish you could keep working. I'm telling you, it's
a zoo.
They're mean. They're just right down the
That's what I've heard.
Cruel, and you can tell by watching those celebrity shows. It's dumb. I think those reality shows are dumb.
Oh, dumb? What do the people believe? There's not a crew there?
With the boom and
yeah, the
stuff?
boom and the goddamn lights and the whole. It's just crap.
It's bullshit.
It is bullshit.
Thank you so much for talking.
Thank you, man.
And I'll make you a copy of it.
Please, I love it.
And I'll bring it by. I have to work Saturday. I'll come by on Sunday and give it to you.
Okay.
On Sunday, right?
Yeah.
I thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'll bring my poster. I should have brought it.
Okay.
I love that. I think that movie's. I don't love the ending, but that movie is wonderful. You know what happened? A few years ago, it did a small tour around the country.
Did it?
Yeah, and I saw it in a theater again.
I didn't know that.
It's nothing like seeing things in a theater.
But yeah, I don't. I like. Well, I'm getting. My wife has. What do you rent for 9 months?
Netflix.
Yeah, and I'm getting pulled over.
Well, it's easy to stay home.
Yeah, but we got a big screen, and she got one for the.
I'm not sure, sir. Maybe go and tell you. I'm not sure.
She'll tell you.
Well, again, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
You're
It was a
awesome.
joy
You're
for
awesome.
me, man.
No, it's awesome.
Thank you.
Because Turner Classic Movie did a whole. They did